Crucifix is an item players may use to protect themselves from most hostile entities. In the hotel, it is most commonly found as an item for sale in Jeff's shop, with a 60% chance of being available to buy. It can also be found in containers, mounted on bedroom walls, suspended over doors, inside chests, and on tables very rarely. In the mines it can only be found in locked toolboxes, locked lockers, or vine-covered chests, apart from being sold by Jeff in the mines. If an entity attempts to attack a player holding the crucifix, the item will levitate out of their hand and chain the entity to the ground. Glowing blue cracks will form on the item, then it will break and the glowing cross will remain in the air, and then it will disappear with fragments. Guiding light's crescent symbol will appear on the floor, and the blue fog aura will quickly spin around, dragging the chained entity into the floor as it screams. The banishment is accompanied by whispers and organ melody. This prevents all damage from the entity, neutralizing it until the next time it spawns, or when it breaks free. Entities of which the crucifix is used on can still spawn later in the run. The crucifix can even be used against boss entities, such as Nathaniel Stevens, Lucas Bell, and Huntress Wizard, but it will only stun the entity temporarily. When the chains the crucifix produces begin to glow red, that is a sign that the entity is breaking free from it. The crucifix, however, using it on Timothy will not remove it from the player's inventory. The crucifix will chain the eyes, Screech, Rush, Ambush, Landon, Gloom Bats, Halt, Hide, Sally, Dread, Void, the main back door, rooms entities, e.g., Lucas Bell, Nathaniel Stevens, and Huntress Wizard, and drag them into the floor if used on them, with the item removed from their inventory shortly after. Any entities from subfloors have to be brought to the hotel or mines through modifiers. Using it on Timothy will let the crucifix smack the spider onto the floor, and the item will still be inside the player's inventory. If a player opens a fake door and Dupe attempts to bite the player who is holding the crucifix, the item will levitate out of their hand and possibly decapitate Dupe. The door then opens, revealing a hole in the ceiling with Dupe's bones scattered on the floor. An achievement titled Evil Begone will be given to the player for the first time if they banished a random entity with the crucifix. In the mines, Nathaniel Stevens's crescendo is significantly reduced, only occasionally spawning a small cluster of eyes in a room prior to boss fights. The chases occur over predetermined doors before the boss fights. Guiding light takes the form of a trail of blue particles, highlighting the correct paths on doors. The first chase, which takes place in the caverns, always begins at door 142 and ends at door 149. It starts in a room containing a long, flooded ravine with the pipe overhead that appears ready to leak sea goop. Upon reaching the end, a cutscene plays in which Nathaniel Stevens's goop leaks from the pipe into the flooded cavern. The goop then transforms into its humanoid form and begins chasing the players. The first half of the chase, rooms 142 through 146, consists of rooms with broken bridges that players must jump over. Failure to jump or falling into the pit results in instant death. At room 146, a cutscene plays where the player attempts to jump, grabs onto a wooden plank, and falls when it breaks. The player is saved by a minecart spawned by guiding light. The second half, rooms 146 to 149, occurs in a mine shaft. Players ride a constantly moving minecarter and must switch between tracks and duck to avoid planks. Colliding with planks steals damage and blurs vision. Tracks may split into 2 or 3 paths. If players do not steer onto the correct one, the minecart will follow an incorrect path, leading to a crash or a pitfall, resulting in instant death. Guiding light provides illumination and directional arrows to indicate the correct track. At the end, the minecart brakes and stops. Guiding light shuts the doors, concluding the Nathaniel Stevens chase. However, the minecart then continues moving, and the player encounters the Queen Grumble. The second chase takes place in the sewage pipes, a location inside the sewers, and begins between doors 170 and 184. After the players pass through a long room, Huntress Wizard emerges from a hole in the ceiling behind them in drawers, only for Nathaniel Stevens to burst through a wall, blocking Huntress Wizard behind rubble and initiating the chase. Alarms begin blaring for the remainder of the sequence. During this chase, the players are pursued by both Nathaniel Stevens and Huntress Wizard. The chase is divided into two parts. The first half includes 3 rooms in which players must choose the correct path, aided by guiding light. The second half consists of a single room filled with a series of pipes that players must navigate, following guiding light's marked path and kicking open great doors. At the end, guiding light shuts the door, concluding chase. Nathaniel Stevens does not actually chase players. Instead, it runs towards the next progressive door, and players behind its concurrent room are instantly killed. Instead of following players, Seek rather follows nodes, which are some sort of pathways leading to the end of the chase. Nathaniel Stevens will run until it reaches the end of the chase, even if all players have died. Nathaniel Stevens screams when it is in the first and last rooms of the hotel chases. Nathaniel Stevens does not scream in the last room of the first chase in the mines. If players die during a Nathaniel Stevens chase, they will not be able to revive until the chase concludes, preventing players from instantly dying. Nathaniel Stevens speeds up drastically when all players are dead, making players able to revive faster. Lucas Bell returns in the mines as a recurring enemy in 3 locations: the Chasm, the Festering Meat Cave, and the Generator Cave. Lucas Bell will not be able to spawn in the back door, the rooms, and the outdoors. Players will first ambush Lucas Bell in the chasm between door 110 to 114, an open area with 2 bridges, where it falls from a pipe and begins wandering. Lucas Bell is unable to attack the player and will not respond to any player inputs. Beyond the chasm, there are 2 further encounters with Lucas Bell that are scattered throughout, the first one being between doors 120 through 125 and the second one occurring after the nest. The mechanics are the same as in the hotel. The player will need to sneak around and try not to alert Lucas Bell while looking for the next door. In the second encounter, around 120 to 124, Lucas Bell will appear in the meat cave and drop down across from the player, and they will need to maneuver around them to access the exit door. In the third encounter, around 160 through 190, Lucas Bell will drop down on the left side of the Generator Cave. It's recommended that players check the left side, going through all the lockers and drawers before heading towards the right, as the room requires 2 fuses to be put in a generator in order to exit. The players will have to be careful when searching through these containers, as Lucas Bell can hear the opening of lockers and drawers if opened while close to it. They will not be able to revive to get rid of the gloom bats, similar to Lucas. Goodbye.